I call to order the Monroe Public Schools Board of Education Special Board Meeting. Today is May 4th, 2026, and the time is 5:31 PM. Jamie, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Heck.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Ms. Myers.
Here.
Mr. Sabadini.
Here.
Mr. Rossi.
Here.
Mrs. Vincent.
Here.
Mrs. Williams.
Here.
Will you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we begin, please note that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. There are 2 cameras in use this evening, one focused on the Board of Education and another one that may be used during any public commentary or presentations. By participating in this meeting, you acknowledge you may be captured on video. As a reminder, if you wish to address the board during public commentary, please make sure you fill out the public commentary forms located on the table with the red tablecloth by the door. Once you have filled out your form, please turn it into our administrative assistant, Jamie, down here at the end. Superintendent Shaw, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda this evening?
There are none tonight, sir.
As we have none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as stated?
I move to approve the agenda as stated.
Do I have support?
Support.
Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, Jamie, can I have a roll call,
We don't
please?
have, I should ask this,
Go ahead.
we don't have members' comments on here.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Where's it
Go
at?
here.
See.
Oh, I see it. Okay, sorry, my apologies. I skipped right over it.
Well, usually it's after public commentary.
Usually it says member
Yeah.
comments.
Okay, fair enough.
Switched it up on me.
Jamie, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, and the motion carries. Next is board discussion action items. Before I turn over to Superintendent Shaw, recognize, I think we have some board members that have a deadline of 6:30, is that correct? So please keep your discussion focused on the agenda and the budget items. Superintendent Shaw?
Wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to share my screen so our people that are maybe watching can see this one document right here. I will make this a little bit larger. So to our board tonight, we want to go over an update of the work that has been done and then really dive into your Q&A. So with that, we're just going to get right on to going. As we go through this, like I said, a lot of your questions that were presented, I appreciate that. So now we can get right into the answers. So we're going to walk down through here. So we talked about, you saw administrative changes, and that's staffing changes are laid out into this document. These are firm numbers. These are numbers that reflect either people that are resigned or a position that has been reduced, and then also any positions that have been put in at the same time. So what we want to really get into, though, is the administrative, the other changes inside of what tallies that amount of money. And so, so with that, I'm going to turn that over to Cassie, and she's going to talk about at the administrative building what that $190,000 looks like.
So within that $190,000, we have the cutting of the meals. I should use a different word than cutting, but the elimination of the meals for both staff meetings and Board of Education meetings of $50,000. We are eliminating the Hanover strategic planning work for year 3, which was $50,000. Eliminating the contract with ACAP at approximately $50,000, which is their base annual contract plus additional hours that they have been doing work for us.
I thought Hanover, we just had a bill and it was 100,000.
That was for this fiscal year.
Okay.
The 50,000 is for year 2 or year 3, and then another 50,000 for year 4, if we chose to proceed with those years.
We didn't have any services. We were continuing with them after the strategic plan, did we?
So the years 3, 4, and 5 were taking and coming alongside of us, and that was part of the contract that was presented to the board 2+ years ago.
Yeah, I remember
For
it.
after the strategic plan, it was assistance through the implementation and monitoring, and then any other projects we had. So that's why that has also now been reduced.
So what would be the plan to monitor the strategic plan outcomes? Because we really do need that data. That's super important.
So David, I know that one of the things we did was on the student data. We've already confirmed with the board, the materials that you want for the student data. And then the other areas are final items we need from Hanover to assist us with will be any kind of perception data, so surveys that we need to get from them.
Yeah, because I think on the strategic plan, each data point needs to have some measurement and measurement on it. So, to me, I know we need to make budget cuts, but the evaluation of our strategic plan and how it's effective or not effective, I'm asking if that is a good cut.
So that's an area as we worked through to get to the 5.5 million. That 50,000 it's a major area. Like in all the areas that we've reduced, they've all been hard and don't want to see them go away. But this is one where as we weigh it all out, we need to make that reduction, and we'll have the data points and the information that's needed to support the work that we're doing as a district. So that's, like I said, it's mainly perception data, because the student data.
Now, there's hard data in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they had a whole, how they monitor each of those data sets. So, it's a 5-year plan. It measures how successful we are in each of meeting those goals. And I'm not sure bringing that internally, I'm just putting it out there. I thought it was a lot more than $50,000. I didn't realize we're down to the $50,000 mark as a monitoring. So, for me, it sounds like a valid thing that may be worth considering keeping.
Are there any
Appreciate
penalties to cutting those contracts short?
that. No, there are out clauses in those contracts there. The ACAP on the school safety one, that one, hopefully our 31AA money gets reinstated for the district, and then that can be pulled back forward. We could also use 31A money, but right now we want to make sure that all of our money, 31A is used in direct support of either academics or behavioral.
And into Carrie's with that same contract.
They all have out clauses in them.
And I believe we would be within that window where we could provide them the notification.
I didn't
that is-
check the contract chart to know where everybody's up, so I don't remember.
And there was 2 other things, unless anyone had another question on
No,
what I
keep
rattled
going.
off already. Okay. And then within that is also a reduction of $30,000 for professional development conferences that are not funded by grants currently. And that would be district-wide, not just at the administration building.
And that would include board
Correct.
ones as well. So
And
they'll
then.
no longer be covered. So if you go to a conference, you're footing the bill yourself from now on. Is that what?
Unless there's a grant opportunity to offset that cost.
Okay.
When we, sorry, get my little note here.
And then we also had budgeted $10,000 in reduction of attorney fees.
Yep.
How do we do that?
Well, when we went back and look at what's currently, this year's current budget, we'll go back to the year prior. And then we look at all that's going on, that next year's budget amount doesn't need to be as high because we should have things wrapped up. And we go into a budget revision. If all of a sudden our costs are going back up, then you adjust it. But we're going back on the expenses we had 2 years ago. The very first year I was here, we were just over $200,000 in spend. The last 2 years have been considerably less.
So we have 3 contracts with them. So which one are we talking about? The negotiated contract?
It's a normal spend. So
Counsel.
remember that my very first year here, we had a lot of times when our attorney would be with us for student discipline hearings. And so we eliminated that. And so it's a matter of working to control it. So that was just an area like going back to history is we can bring that number down. Again, that's a number that based on something that happens, if we have to make a budget revision later on, you would. But at this point in time, our expectation is that we should be able to get ourselves back to.
Yeah, because we bill by usage. So
Yes.
just like our recent circumstances, the bill by usage, you can't reduce it, it's going to go up. you know, by nature. That's why I was wondering if it was a negotiated contract that's a flat rate. I could see taking 10 grand off of that, you know, but just a regular billing by minute, I find that challenging as to
Well, we'll-
ensure we're going to do
We'll
10,000.
just have to be conscientious of how much we're using
That's it.
and make right decisions on when we need to call them in.
Well, and that's where, like I said, that after my first year and the amount that we were spending, we reduced it that very next year because we stopped students doing student discipline hearings unless we had a need for the
If
attorney
they-
to be
yeah,
here.
If they had attorney, we'd. have
Yep,
that.
or.
Yeah,
and
we
so-
did that years ago.
Yep, that was, or, 3 years ago was that, or
Yeah.
2 years ago now. So that's why we look at, like, now we can go ahead, we'll bring it down, $10,000 for that point right there. So after we exit out of the administrative building, I wanted Dave Payne to take a second and just kind of talk about a little bit with print shop and what that looks like and how we're trying to also make that and what that's done for us. And I know this is a reduction, but at the same time, have him take a moment to talk about how our printing costs and everything has also shifted through our methodologies.
Thank you,
So
Mr.
if we can, I want to make sure that we're understanding what we're talking about before we move on to the next item. So administrative building, this is 90,000. So that's the one where the other charges. Okay, so
Correct.
that's
Yep.
that.
Just
Okay.
detailed that.
We haven't got anything on the 650 staffing changes except for one position. And I'm not sure you
No,
made that much
so we
money.
laid that out to you in our last board meeting. There was a staffing chart that showed you the
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. So
This one.
Well, I was looking.
that one to a degree, but it's more of this one. So
Admin.
we're not, it would be, so I want to be very cautious because if we go line by line and we start getting into the exact positions, then it's also going to become, I want to say that. I know we've had conversations with employees here, but we
wouldn't use names, but we're looking at administrative, you know, there's a big pool. So if I thought that the green
Yep.
and the white and the yellow were okay to
Yes.
openly discuss, that, and so those are in the green. So my anticipation would be that those would be open for discussion. And we discussed heavily administrative, heavy on that. We've been talking about that for a long time. So that's why I was asking, do we reduce any of that heaviness? And
Yeah, so the administrative buildings, I believe there was a document provided where we had 2 district PBIS coordinators, we're down to 1. We had,
were they administrative?
that's part of the administrative building. So when we
Ah.
look at the administrative building, okay, that's people that are at the district level. And so that $645,000 reflects district level employees. So can one of you two
I-
grab that up? 'Cause I know you've got it.
Yeah, this was
I've
like,
got it in front of me.
Yeah.
So there's one exempt support person, one administrative cabinet member, 2 positive school climate liaisons, 1 district PBIS person, the dean of transportation, and then the last item, I don't know if Mrs. Joseph has spoken to those. I know we had a couple resign, but there's one other position, but I'm not sure she's had all the conversations yet, so I didn't want to list that out by position.
Yeah, just, I guess, total, how many positions is that a reduction?
that's what I'm looking at.
So it is 6 people, and then that other position that is a couple people.
Okay.
So this one,
There's 3 of those individuals currently. One has resigned. One resigned already, and 2 are currently in.
part of the package deal.
That's part of that total that,
Okay.
yes.
And to your comment about administration top-heavy, we've eliminated 8 deans. Those are counted, I believe, in rep as administrators. So when you see a inflated number besides our building administrators and cabinet members and things like that, there were 8 reductions to that number that you see.
They just got moved.
But in the eyes of the state of Michigan, they didn't get moved, so you actually had positions that,
That they had to interview for
yeah,
if
so
they
there's
wanted
still
to stay
positions.
on.
So,
reduced.
And it's a different function code, which is reported differently at REP,
So-
and they're performing different duties.
okay, so the state had like 64, remember? That was the number that they had
Mm-hmm. So
put
that's
out.
part
So
of
you were
that.
saying that that would be reduced, even though they're moving to a different
Because
position?
it's a different position, different category, it'll be reported differently in REP.
Okay,
So you see it, for example, in that, there,
Those
it'd be a
oth-
10 FT reduction in administrators between, this
And
is
I-
easy, between our cabinet member, our principal, and then the 8 deans.
And I only listed off the one dean in the administration building because the others are assigned to an individual building, so they're counted in the dollars that are under elementary or secondary, depending
good.
on where they're located.
so did you want to discuss, I know the rest of the board, I don't know if they want to hear this, about how you did the pay when they moved with all of the staff within some of these positions? If the board wants to hear it, if they don't want to hear
Yeah.
it, then.
Can we do that when we get down to the element, so we just go in order, because
Okay.
that's in,
Yeah.
that'll
Again,
be in, when we make these, because we want to dive further into those adjustments, so you can understand.
and Carrie has limited time, so let's make sure we keep rolling here.
So at the administrative building, that's a district level. You had, was it 6 then, or, yeah, it's 6 positions reduced, and total of 645,000. And then when it came to other items, it was 190. So at the administrative district level,
It was 7, including the ones that haven't been spoken to yet.
thank you.
And
That's-
how many just transferred to a new position?
I know offers were made to, was it 4 or 5? 4.
You don't know that number yet, though.
We do, so that'll be down when we go into.
And that's accounted for later in the elementary or secondary.
So, we're gonna stay on administrative building. So Dave, I want, if you can tackle the next 2, which is technology, with print shop, and then also technology, other changes.
Sure, thank you. The first part was staffing. We adjusted some of our operations to make things a little more efficient with the hardware, anticipating our pilot at Waterloo with the iPads. So one of the things we want to do is move our repair system at the high school. So what that would allow is, instead of having a separate place where we check in and out devices, have people go to seek support at the same time as we staff that location, that would also do repairs. And we could staff that based on the amount that come in. Also with our print shop, the reductions we made, we were able to reduce, will be able to reduce some of the hours we're using in print shop as well. We've also had, when Ms. Shook sent out the no spend, we've had a few open positions we did not fill. So we would leave those, we would remove those positions. So all in all, that's where that 240,000 came from. Of those positions that we'll be reducing, we have not had conversations with a couple employees, but we will be reducing. They could reapply for other open positions based on if it's a tech area that they'd want to work in. But we would have those conversations closer to the time of the July 1st. Because we do have turnover with a lot of college kids. It's usually 1 to 2 years for several of those positions. So we're hoping if we could have another reduction, that we would not have to remove any staff members. But that's where that 240,000 comes from.
So that's all staffing.
The 240,000, yes. Then on the other charges with technology, we have roughly about $300,000 in services or items that we've had on the radar last year that were very minimally used. We checked those, and I'll go through the list quickly. Zoom software. Other than the boardroom, we can switch to Teams throughout the district and the conference centers. That would be included in our Microsoft leasing agreement. So we could save $11,500 by doing that. Grammarly software, that's not used by everyone, so we looked at the usage and we could reduce that by $2,500. Hapara software is one that we use for our Chromebook. It's used for a couple of things, for internet protection, also for classroom management for Chromebooks for teachers. By switching to iPads, we can reduce that license count by 10,000 and incorporate that into the iPad purchase. So it would be a net gain of $10,000 by doing that.
You told us about that.
Mm-hmm. SmartNet service, that's 45,000. What we did is we included that in the E-rate purchase that the board approved a little over a month ago. What will that mean is our firewalls and some of our network equipment is included worth of 5 years of maintenance in that purchase. So that would no longer be a general fund liability, and that's a $45,000 savings. FortiGate service is
What was
89,
that? I didn't hear it.
45,000 for
No,
SmartNet.
the new, next one, I didn't.
FortiGate.
Forta?
FortiGate, it's our firewall service.
Okay.
That's going to be replaced again with the E-rate purchase. So that's $8,925 yearly that we want to pay for maintenance.
It's FORTIGAT, if you wanted to
I'm
take
close.
detailed notes.
I'm kind of close.
We have a redaction subscription that we pay for to help when there's this video that we have to blur out. We're going to move that in-house and take that on for our staff would do, and that's $4,000. Event coverage, we usually, right now, we're paying a little bit north of about $40,000 to $50,000, depending on how many events for Red Letter. We were going to take on supporting the smaller events that our staff can handle where we don't need to rent extra equipment. So that would be a savings of $30,000 by bringing that back in-house. Graduations and some larger events, we would still need them. But for the small events where it's just a little audio and maybe minimal cameras, we could take that on in-house. And that'd be a savings of $30,000. Power School software, with our reduction of student counts, we can update our licensing to accommodate that, which would be another $10,000 in savings. Our Halo Cloud service is for $13,940. That wouldn't reduce any of our functionality of the Halos. What that is a cloud service that allows us to have pretty reports, and we can mail those out to each of the buildings. What we can do is still connect in and get those statistics. It's just a manual process. But for the $13,000 a year, it's not worth that.
Have you looked at the necessity for maintaining that system based on the fact that we're not hearing that, I don't know, maybe I'm just not catching the hearing, how successful and useful that program is for vaping. So just only because I sit at some of these meetings and the prevalence of vaping is, so, you know, when you look at the cost of that, we have to replace them, we have to update them, we have to do all of that. Why do we need them at all and monitor it ourselves?
I mean, they're used. So right now, the way it works is if there is an alert, the camera closest to that location would pop up on the administrator's computer, and they can address it. It is a hindrance because students know they're there, but it's not just for vaping, it's also for environmental, for like if you have any kind of dust or the carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, you know, angry speak. There's a lot of things they do monitor.
But they only
So-
monitor them in a bathroom,
Currently, yes. Yeah.
right?
The other part is the Halos will be used as part of our mass communication because they do detect gunshot. So they'll detect that sound, and so we can program in. So it's not like it's just one, they have one service, they're there. So they're already in our system. Dave just came up with a way to reduce the cost as far as
Yeah.
reports that we're getting.
And when they start to get older, I think it would be a discussion, do we want to reinvest in replacing or not?
'Cause
But
you
right
just
now,
bought-
since they're already in,
But aren't you looking at buying 15 more?
if we had all the bathrooms assessed, and there is a couple locations where there's enough square footage to justify it, but we don't have to. It's just saying, based on the square footage of that room, the upgrades during the bond and the airflow, we move the ones we could move to get the best sensor action, but there's a couple that are big enough that could have more, but we don't have to.
If that
But
was
I-
something we wanted to buy, could that come out of that 31 AA money?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay.
The next one was Element 4 service. This is for $84,000. This is our backup to, our on-site backup to the cloud. We are moving that back to in-house. The state of Michigan has offered a grant to MI Cloud to give schools a 2-year reprieve on that cost. So we would get 2 years of no cost, and then after that, we would just have to pay for the cloud storage we used. So we're going to be bringing the board a proposal for our backup system, that we can do this at no cost now, but in about 3 years, we may have a small cost for the storage in the cloud, but nothing like that. So it's a
didn't catch-
considerable savings.
I didn't catch the savings number.
84,000.
Okay. And that would be effective once the MyCloud comes.
We just did a backup test, so we might be able to actually go online in May. So we would reduce maybe a cost for May and June. But if not, our goal was to go live by July 1st, no matter what.
Yeah.
The next cost is CBT Nugget Service. That's a reduction. That's training software for our technicians, but what we can do is keep a few licenses and kind of use it, and then once they go through a training, and then kind of bounce around, instead of giving everyone their own. Teradici software, that's 46,
The savings on the CBT nuggets.
6,000.
Thank you.
The Teradici software is what we use to manage our zero clients, our thin clients that are used where the processing's done in the cloud. We're going to move that back to manual, so we can't, what's that? Teradici, okay, it's Teradici, and that's our thin client management software. Instead of doing groups of 50 or 100 to update the firmware or push out updates, we would just do it manual.
How much was that, Dave?
That's $4,546 a year. Our deep freeze software, that's $3,900 annually. We use that to push out updates, antivirus, but it's kind of redundant with CrowdStrike upgrading their software. We no longer need any kind of antivirus because that's all done with CrowdStrike. New Horizon service, that's training software for our technicians. That's $25,000 annually. Turnitin web service, $9,975. That's a plagiarism software that they've been gradually using other web-based services for that. And last year, there was only a few teachers using it. This year, nobody was using it, so we're no longer going to renew that subscription. World Book web service, $6,107. That was used at the elementary level very minimally last year, and this year hardly at all. So we're going to no longer renew that. What's that?
What was that?
World Book web service.
Was that a resource they used for a reference?
Yeah, it's like an online encyclopedia type
Yeah.
resource, but now with so many other web resources, it's just not really used anymore like it used to be.
They have other alternatives. that they-
And World Book was one that would give you statistics at the end of the year, so you knew how often it was used, where when we first got it, it was widely used in the classroom. Then the last 3 years, it's been minimal, and last year was very minimal. This year, hardly at all. So we were going to stop that purchase.
Okay.
So that totals about $295,000 in total, $294,680.15 to be exact. The other thing was about $300,000, and we were going to use, that was offsetting some general fund dollars that we were using for the 24/7 project. So what we decided to do was wait on that purchase till later to see if we got additional funds from 31A money and try to change the way that we distributed devices at K6. We're looking at smaller amounts in each classroom with shared carts. And by doing that, our initial was about 1.1 million, and we're down to roughly just a little over $500,000 if we were to move forward today. So we're looking at using existing devices, looking at when they're going to have end of life to try to only have to purchase what we absolutely have to. And this would allow elementary buildings to share carts, but have 5 or 6 in each classroom to use in centers or shared time.
So that was, you said 300? So that was a purchase that won't be a purchase?
That was, we were gonna use that money now, but we're gonna hold off unless the state gives us an additional 300,000. We would wait or use other funds.
Because this would be general fund.
Yep, so general fund could use that money to use for something else.
Yeah, so it's not actually a
So we would be
category right
bring-
now until we know for sure.
We would be bringing a purchase in late June or July, once more is understood.
Do
Or
you-
we would use technology millage funding.
Yes.
So that is how you're coming up with the 295 to get to your 600?
Well, there's 295 of software we're stopping our services.
Yeah.
Then an
And then
additional
the
300,000.
300,000 gets you to 600.
Yes. So the adding 2 of those is how you're coming up with that? Yes,
Yep.
that's what my question was. Thank you.
And that's a total of 600,000 for those two things and about 240,000 for the staffing.
But if we don't get that money, that, of course, we hope it all just comes rolling in. If we don't, that would have to come out of general fund, so that would affect your numbers.
Or technology millage.
So
funding.
295 is a definite. The other 3 has mitigating factors.
So the other 300,000, yes, and that's why we talked about is if we see an increase from the state of Michigan, 31A, great, it's there. But right now, we said we're, at this point in time, we got to keep, use what we have, and that's, it's a wait and see
Yeah,
for us.
yeah, so that kind of should be off to the side.
It
for a
is.
minute, Yeah.
Yep, it really is. So then when we go, is there any other questions in the administrative building, district level?
So that 600 would be like 295.
Well, it's technically
No.
600 for me because I was going to buy something
Yeah.
in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
It's a cost avoidance.
it is. We're going to hold off unless they give us 300 more.
Yeah.
If they don't, I'll have to absorb that with the technology millage, so it's still a savings to the general fund.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
So then we're, I've asked Terry if she would dive into, and this is where we're putting up on this chart right here, okay, that you have, into our K-6 elementary staffing.
So I know there were a few questions around the changing of the boundary lines. So in board briefs last week, I had made the mention that we were going to be moving some students from Custer over to Waterloo into Hollywood. So in shifting some boundaries, we would be moving approximately 103 students out of Custer. And with that movement, that would put 64 more students at Waterloo and 39 more students at Hollywood. With doing those moves, there were questions asked about school of choice. And we would absolutely follow the same procedures that we have always followed whenever we have to adjust district boundaries. And so every family gets a personal phone call where we explain to them their options and what they can do if they do not want their child to move to the different school that we are proposing. So they are always able to stay at their current school if they would like to. And we help them complete the paperwork and do whatever they need to do.
So what happens if 60% of the students and families say, look, my children are only going to be here for a couple of years. I want them to stay. I have other children. Or, we don't want them to drive them across town or whatever it is. So what is the next step if that's it? Because we're counting this
Sure.
as a budgetary item.
Sure.
And that it would be, because I'm guessing the next thing would be it affects staffing in
Yeah.
those buildings.
Yeah, so that's always a possibility, Darla, and it's always a big question mark for us. You don't know ahead of time which parents are going to opt to keep their child at that school. And there's also other things that impact student enrollment. We have students that move in, we have students that leave us and move out. So we always try to go with our best educated prediction about how many students we would have in a building. With this, once we call these families, if we see that that does not work, we could stretch out the boundaries in some other directions. Patty over at Transportation is wonderful at being able to pinpoint locations where she thinks that it would be easy for the buses to be able to make those adjustments in their routes. So we will definitely, we'll keep you updated on what happens, with those phone calls to those families. But then the second point you just brought up is the impact then on staffing. So I believe in one of your documents, you saw that we went from 99 teachers at the elementary level, K-6, down to 97 teachers. And so that decrease of 2 is part of this big math problem with the movement of those district lines.
So you said it went from
99
To 97.
yeah,
to 97.
because I'm looking at, I was looking at the staffing chart, the latest one we have. I thought this was over 100.
Depending
Did you
on,
include the music and all those
No.
teachers in?
no, this is only classroom teachers. So this is young 5 kindergarten, first
Yeah.
through 6th grade
Yeah,
teachers.
and this one has it broke out.
Yeah, I did not include any of the Encore teachers in that count. Those Encore teachers would remain in those positions that they currently have. But what happened with the enrollment was taking the 103 kids out of Custer decreased their number of classroom teachers by 3. So I was 3 less there. And then Manor had a larger enrollment of third grade students in the fall. So they had 3 sections of third grade. And again, this is one of those unpredictable things. Throughout the course of the school year, they had a number of those third grade students move to other places, which decreased that number of third grade students in those 3 classrooms. So when she looked at fourth grade, she could make 2 fourth grade classrooms. So Manor, just by their current enrollment and looking at that, they decreased by 1. So that gave me 4 less teachers at the elementary level. And then with putting those 39 students at Hollywood, I increased by 1 teacher there. And then putting the additional 64 students at Waterloo, I increased by 1 teacher there. So that's a plus of 2, which,
So that's how you get to 4.
yeah, so I was less 4.
4 minus
3 from Custer, 1 from Manor. And then from that 4 that I was less, I needed to add 1 to Hollywood and 1 to Waterloo.
So it's a net 2.
So a net of 2 less.
So how were you able to organize the classrooms then for count? Like for that classroom, you said there were 40, so it'd be 20 and 20, right? So were you able to do that with all the classrooms?
So we take, I'll try to answer what I think you're asking. So when we think about enrollments for the next school year, we advance the number of students in each grade to the next grade. So we advance all the second graders to third graders, the third graders to fourth graders. In this case, the fourth graders get advanced to fifth grade, which is over at Cantrick. And then the number of young 5 students and kindergarten students, we really don't know. But we know that it's most likely, based on past experience, going to be similar to the number that we had the previous year. So we just replicate that number as our best educated prediction about how many kindergarten students we would have. And then we look at the number of students that are in each grade level at each building, and then the principals determine how many teachers then that they need. So if they have 60 first grade students, then they're going to have 3 sections of 20 first grade students. So they just kind of follow that throughout all of the grades using the parameters that we have for student enrollment.
One other thing that may help too is, one of the questions you asked prior was, let's say some of our kids that were set to move into one building don't. It's very similar like last fall, we had less students show up at Waterloo, and so we collapsed the class. Well, that's just what we do. Once we kind of see, okay, what's transpiring, then we make the appropriate adjustments. And so,
We've also had years where we would reach our maximum enrollment in a particular grade level. And so any new students who went to enroll in that school, we had to work with them to put them into a different school because we just couldn't have 27, 28 first graders in a classroom. So that happens too. So we try our very, very best to make good decisions about how many sections of each grade we'll need in each of the elementary schools. And most of the time, we're pretty good at it, but.
Do you remember this chart? Very, very useful. It was student count by grade and year, so you could track the numbers. So it goes up to 25, so that might be beneficial to have that one up to 26, because it started out in 20, and then you can track, like, the student enrollments.
Is that one of yours, Andy, that I could add on to?
Yeah.
Okay,
It was just, based
Yeah.
on what you're saying, that makes this so much more relevant.
perfect. I can definitely do that with our projected numbers.
Yeah, they're 20, it's 2020 to 2025 currently.
Yep.
So that would give us 26.
Yep, I certainly can do that.
so then, I want to be cognizant of the time right here. We want to keep moving along. So when it comes to, and so if we just, the staffing at the K-6 buildings, take one moment on the art, music, phys ed, I know we had one teacher reduction there.
We did. We had, so far we have one teacher less in one of the encores, but we also picked up some different parochials for the upcoming school year. So Holy Ghost and I believe it's Trinity are also asking for us to provide special subjects for them. So we'll be able to place those teachers in those positions.
Is that through EduStaff? No.
Nope,
No.
those are Monroe Public.
Okay.
And then as a note to that, when we're serving those parochial students, the time that our teachers spend with them, we're able to claim a very small part of an FTE for each student that our teachers are teaching.
So then, if we could go forward to the 7th through 12th grade, David, if you want to take a moment there, please.
Sure. So we are looking at making adjustments to staffing models at the secondary level. Some of it comes down, and I'm looking at color coding things. So we have not fulfilled all of our conversations, and we hope to by the end of the day on Wednesday with folks. But a lot of the secondary level depends on I guess, how many students register for those courses? What is the need for those courses? And, no offense to basket weaving teachers, right? But if we don't have enough students registering for those courses, or we have 7 basket weaving teachers, but we only have enough students for 5 of them based on the schedule, we love our basket weaving teachers, but we have to look to make efficiencies, especially in this circumstance. So that's why you will see a reduction of 4 secondary teachers, grades 7 through 12. And again, we're going to be having those conversations the next 2 days.
So you're probably trying to figure out, if you're trying to do the math going, okay, there is $1.2 million, almost $1.3 million in the elementary, and just over $1 million at the secondary. What that comes down to is we had other staff, so we had the severance package, so we had people that retired, and then we had other staff that were in other positions that now have taken over. So that's why you don't see the full, 20, 30 less teachers. Other people that are certified teachers were doing other positions, now they're back into the classroom. So that's why, so the severance package is actually the item that was able to generate that kind of a savings.
And the cost, just as a note, the cost estimate is inclusive of retaining those other people that were moved from. So that's taken into account to the best of my estimation ability at this moment.
So the practice we did was we literally went through our 120 some lines. And so if we had a teacher who had taken the severance package, we had their name, and then we had the person replacing them, dollar amount for one column, dollar amount for the other column, and then we just kept working our way all the way down through. So that's how we were able to make these numbers up here be extremely accurate for you. So when we get into it, Cassie, if you want to take and dive into the other changes for the board, I appreciate that. At the
Sure.
elementary, secondary level.
Yep. That is an estimate of $70,000, which 20 of that was reducing the per pupil supply allocations for all the buildings. And then the other 50,000 was an estimate of, for changing where some of our EMC and dual enroll students take their courses. If we were to add the proposed ability to work with Washtenaw Community College, and there was, thank you, I couldn't remember the second one.
So right now, we spend a large amount of money with Monroe Community College, and so they are right here. We still will continue to use Monroe Community College for a lot of the courses we do. We have kids that are in their 4th, 5th years are heading into their 5th year, so their 4th year. But when we begin to really look at Washtenaw Community College, for example, has an opportunity for more offerings. But the biggest difference, and we want to give Monroe Community College time to get this done, and so is that their book system that Washtenaw came through with is where we would see the vast majority of our savings and in the purchasing of books. So we purchase all the books for students, and by the methodology that Washtenaw uses, that would be a large reduction right there. The other area that Monroe Community College I know is working on, but I'm not sure it'll be in place for next year, is the cost that we incur for lab fees. So a lot of the community colleges and colleges will charge us a simple rate for our lab fee, and we get charged by credit hour. So if it's a 3-hour lab fee, you get charged 3 hours for it rather than just a small fee. So when we looked at it, like, all right, well, Monroe Community College, we know for on the book side of it, they're not ready to, it's going to take them a couple of years to get the books switched over. And so while that's occurring, this is an opportunity for us to, save some money. The other opportunity is this. We already had some students doing courses at Washtenaw Community College because there's more offerings. Each community college has what they can offer. So we've already had students there. I wish I could speak more about what Eastern is doing, but Eastern has really come up with some interesting ways and 3 different courses to drop their cost, which is a great opportunity. And so we have students that are already either dual enrolled. When it comes to the Washtenaw Community College, kids will be, the teachers will be here as a direct college class, so it's right in front of them. You'll still have some courses that kids will do virtually too. But that's going to be talking with our high school about that and looking at what the numbers, they knew that that's going to be a minimum of $50,000 savings, so that's why that was written in there.
So I have to give a shout out to a sitting alumni for Eastern. Y'all do it for MSU and Michigan, so I'm going to do it for Eastern today. You are. Shout out for 2 of us.
So is Donna.
Donna, see, we have a little shout out there. So the discussion that you just had, that 70,000 was part of that discussion. That was the numbers that we're talking about,
Yes,
right? In that, when you said about the supplies, and I'm not a teacher, I always give that disclaimer, but I always hear, and I know people that are teachers, and I try to help them with supplies, there's a limit, like teachers have to spend so much of their own money anyway. So if that is a cost that, even if it's $5 to teachers, I'm not
Yeah, it's a building.
understanding that.
It's I think what you need to think about, it's a building level supply line item. And so the building principal has the authority of how that money's are distributed. So that building principal may elect to still have all the stuff in their buildings. I know that when I was elementary principal, we did a lot of bulk buying, and we controlled that budget. And so we said, okay, these are all the items that we are purchasing that's on hand for you, from pens, paper, to crayons, all of those items. And so teachers had to come down for that. And so
I just don't
that's
want to
part
see
of
it. The teachers now have to buy more of what they say they already have to buy a lot of. Am I on that perception?
No, you'd be, like I said, that's why we're giving it really back to the principal. And I know that when we start to go through it, like, okay, well, it's $20,000. It's a nominal, it's not a huge amount of money, but it's still, every dollar or every $5 matters there. And so I do understand that. Looking at the time, I just want to take care of a couple things, and we're going to get right into some more questions, okay? I want to get there for people. Athletics and transportation, those are items that I began having conversations today on athletics. Transportation is tomorrow. We'll get to custodial maintenance, but I want to take, though, if you wouldn't mind, just a couple of moments, 'cause I've got questions for you guys that we do need help on. And then we're going to make sure we've answered your questions to the best of our ability, knowing the time. So areas that we are going to need conversation on, and tonight could be just the beginning of a conversation there, is this. We have a contract with ProMedica, and we have a ProMedica health system at Monroe High School. We have a cost of $55,000 for a nurse that is out there, and then the therapist is $75,000. Is that, and so what these are areas of conversation, like, nope, personally, I want you to leave that area alone or not. Security. So in our district, we have security. We have school safety people across our district in different buildings. And at Monroe High School, we have a person, for example, out at the guard shack. Okay? And so you can pull up there and they gather all that other information. Now, that's at Monroe High School, but you go to any other building, there's nobody like that. go up to the buildings and they get buzzed in there. But that's a like cost too, to keep a person stationed out there. That area right there would be about a $45,000 reduction if you just took that one. Or we said, okay, very specific number of employees inside the buildings or certain hours. There's a way you can reduce costs. Another big area is, and we didn't dive into it, but anyone that's ever had a pool at home knows this, is Monroe Middle School pool. Is that an area that you want us to spend any time diving into, or is like, nope, leave that alone, please? But it's back to the amount of time.
What was the projected dollars for the improvements just recently in our board briefs? I'm looking at you because
Yes, for the middle school, yep.
yeah.
About $8,000. It's
And
for a
that would
pump
get the pool up to code and operating
to
effectively.
distribute the chemicals properly,
Okay.
yes. But there's also another system we're getting pricing on right now for a tank. That's, the initial tank is going bad, holding tank, and that's going to be, the last bid we got, we held off on it, was around 50,000, so.
But 8,000 could get us currently functioning until further.
Well, they're functioning now, but
Yeah.
it needs to be
Okay.
replaced.
So it becomes a conversation of the middle school pool. Is there a conversation there or not? Because pool just, it eats money. And so that's-
How often is the pool used at the middle school?
I can help slightly with that. We do use the pool for community ed, for both the pool classes we offer to adults and also our Swim Safe Monroe program operates out of the middle school pool.
But the middle school students don't use it?
Not to my knowledge.
They don't use them in gym class anymore?
We don't have a certified lifeguard.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's strictly supporting the community
Correct.
outside the school.
Yep.
You're passing on that one?
Yep.
Duly noted.
So yeah, so you have the pool, and the reason why I'm posing that is like, is that an area you want to spend any time on to investigate? Another area is this, is we spend $100,000 each year on weekend activities. And so that's Saturday, Sundays, out, and when we talk about that, this is inside of our buildings, okay? Because you have to have the buildings, keep the buildings cleaned after the fact, and so this
This
is
is
either
only inside, you said.
inside. And this is the maintenance. Sometimes you have to have maintenance staff there. Sometimes, obviously, we always have to have custodians there to service. And so what's the appetite of the board, for example, to say no something? Keep Saturdays, no Sundays, and if someone's there on a Sunday, and they pay for the custodial services. It doesn't stop an athletic team from having practice. We're talking about when you bring in a larger group for that. And so
We had that cost factor that if you wanted to use it, are we talking about those groups that can
We're saying
rent
that-
our position? No?
No, what we're saying right now is that if our junior pro basketball league wants to continue to have their games on Sundays, not a problem. It'll cost you X number of dollars to pay for the custodian that has to come in and keep the place clean.
How would that go with like Monroe First Downer football that runs on a Sunday?
That's outdoors.
I didn't know if they used any of the facilities. indoors.
Outdoors. So the nice thing is like with an outdoor facility, not a problem. On Monday, they'll go out and they'll clean the bathrooms.
So it's all good.
So that's not a big deal. I can put that right on a person's schedule, so it's not above.
So how many student groups would we predict that would impact? Are we familiar
So
with how many?
a lot of these right here is more about putting things on the table, go and investigate it or not. I know that on the Sunday one, on the indoors, there's a lot of different things that go on in our district. But what we do is by making a decision like that, you're putting everybody on notice, schedule yourselves differently for next year.
Yeah.
And that could be, all the different groups that are currently using our facilities. And then the last one that I wanted to, Dave Payne, take a moment on right here, is staff devices. So Dave came up with an idea late on Friday around staff devices, and so I wanted him to share that.
So what our thought was is some of the reclaimed laptops that we would normally replace after 3 years, we would bring those in, refurbish them, purchase new batteries, and give those back to staff that need them. But it would save us purchasing anywhere between 100 and 150,000. 100,000 is conservative, and especially with the high price of memory right now and the cost of technology, it would be a cheaper way to get another 2, possibly 3 years out of these devices.
Are you talking about iPads?
laptops
laptops.
for our
you're saying-
support staff.
So what do we currently do when we don't refurbish them? Like if Carrie's laptop goes out and you need to get her a new one, what currently do you do with the old one?
So first thing we do is, it would go down to an additional employee, let's say somebody that needs a computer just twice a week, or it sits in a lab or something like that. Once it gets past 5 or 6 years, then what we do is we pallet them up, we get all the serial numbers, and we send out quotes for, e-waste, or they'll give you sometimes $10-20 for them. It just depends on how old they are.
You
Our
said
Chromebooks.
iPads run about $100.
The iPads you generally don't sell too often just because we can use those for 6+ years. And then they hold their value and they actually hold, their quality's a little better. Chromebooks, there's so many moving parts, they just don't last. These laptops would be going into year 4. So, based on the price of memory and to replace a laptop now for a normal laptop we would have paid $600 for is $900 right now. So to me, it's worthy of refurbishing them if we can do that. It would save us money.
So you said about 100 grand easily?
Oh, yeah, for our supports. It's probably more than that,
Okay.
but it depends on with the structure, who needs a laptop. But it would definitely save us from spending at least $100,000.
So my limited knowledge of technology, I have to remind us all the time of that, is as the laptop ages, they become more problematic as you constantly clean them off. And some of us like to have, a whole bunch of icons on ours. So would there be a problem with reliability with changing into that because of that problem?
So what we would hope to do is, let's say we brought back 300 or 400 laptops. We would refurbish, check them. The top 150, we would set aside, purchase new batteries. The other ones we'd set aside for parts or for spares. So when something got to, the part with an older laptop isn't necessarily that they start to go bad, it's the battery. Or if you have to replace a part, it's not really worth spending that much money on a replacement part. So that's what we would do. I wouldn't, if we needed the exact amount we had, it may not be worth it just because some have aged, cracked screens, but if we can use a subset of those, even, so as I said, if we could use 100 of them, that's $100,000 on new laptops right there.
And
Even if
you
it gets
have
us
a-
2 years. I would hope for 2 years and then possibly 3.
So based on the amount that are out there right now, you're confident that there are 100 that you can
Yeah.
fall into that category?
Yep. So, sorry, go ahead.
I'm waiting for the round of questions to start.
Yep, we're going
Because
right there right now.
that's where I thought we were
Enrichment
going to
leader.
spend some time, because frankly, I know Carrie has to leave,
Yep.
but we have a quorum without Carrie, so we could continue talking, and you can catch up anyway, so
Well-
I'm not trying to be rude about it, but, okay.
Yeah.
But
if
maybe,
Carrie-
maybe you should go ahead and ask your questions
Yeah, I was
first.
going to say, let
That's
Carrie
fine
go
with that.
first. No questions, okay.
If you still have stuff to say, go ahead and say it.
No, I'm done. I was just going to run through the questions that were in yellow.
Okay.
Came in before.
Okay.
So then
Go
we-
ahead.
Okay, and Cindy, I'm sorry, Terry, enrichment leader, what the duties are, please.
So enrichment leaders are positions that we have at Manor, Raisinville, and Custer. Those are grant-funded positions. And those particular individuals, they do activities and provide opportunities to enrich the curriculum with students. They work with a lot of at-risk children. They might help them with completing their work or learning something that they had some challenges with. They run groups at lunchtime with various students. They support school activities before school, after school, and they do a lot of parent engagement types of activities within the building.
Thank you.
Mr. Payne, the maintenance, the 8 staff member reductions there, and what's going on with that?
So if I can just real quick, go over the $690,000 of savings. So what that would include is, we have one custodian that's retired, and that was part of our plan. When MPS custodians retired through attrition, we would not replace them. So that's one of those there. We do have several skilled trades positions that have not been filled, a couple for a while, an HVAC and a plumber. So those we were thinking of for now, since we couldn't fill them, cutting those positions. We also have a supervisor that left. We were not going to fill that, and 2 general maintenance positions. Those have been, one has not been filled for over a year. I think they took a medical retirement. So we would, since we've lived without them this long, we were going to try not to. So the nice thing about this is it doesn't affect anybody because they're all open positions. What our strategy in this, because it is, when I first thought about this, it made me a little nervous, just because they're skilled trades positions. We at least have electrical, plumbing, and boiler HVAC covered right now with one person in each of those positions. But what we've been doing to offset the general fund is, if it's something we can't handle in-house, it's usually large enough that we can leverage sinking fund to pay for it. So it does offset the cost to the district's general fund as well. And we've been getting by with that. One of the things we're trying to do is come up with systems to perform better maintenance, better documentation where our stuff is, the routine maintenance, to see if that helps for future, and then in another year, come back based on those findings and say, you know what, this skilled trade area, we're okay. This one, we probably need to bring someone back, because we spend more than that position on outsourcing repairs. So that's what our thought would be, is that we would still have the district covered, but those larger repairs would be charged to the sinking fund, which would help us on the general fund side.
And right now, the district is covered because those positions aren't even filled. And so we've been running for a while now that way. Next was Terry, the WIDA tester. We have a 2-head count there.
Sure. So we have just 2 people that we access as WIDA testers just on an as-needed basis. They are not employees that report any place every single day. So they, we couldn't really do WIDA testing without them. They're pretty important. I know Donna was a WIDA tester.
That was actually my question, because
Okay,
I know she did it, but she'd do it a couple times a year.
that's correct. That's all it
So
is.
it's not 2 full-time employees.
Correct.
Are they,
They both happen to be retired
Yeah.
teachers.
which she did when she retired, okay. About how much does that save, based on how much you use them? Are the edge staff?
No, they have to be paid through payroll. So, I mean, they save us the 30% retirement costs that we would pay and a regular person.
Another question that came in is line items between general fund and grant funded. I asked Cassie to address that.
So we do have things on here that are grant funded and general fund, but keep in mind, all the grant funded position changes are offset by another position. So all our grant funds are in and out. The reductions would be in the general fund side of things, because like while we're reducing school improvement coaches, we're increasing restorative practice coordinators, analysts. So that is grant to grant. We're reducing deans, which is general fund. And now some of them are moving into those additional restorative practice positions, which are then grant funded. So it's a mix of both. It's hard on this spreadsheet that we have going to tell you exactly how many dollars are grant and how many are not, but the net savings would be out of general fund.
Can I have a follow-up on that? So one of the things is grants. It's a pool of money, we understand that, and there are a lot of things you can do with that money. And you can pay for academic tutors, or you could pay for behavioral analysts. So there's a lot of latitude in some of those grants. So do we have like how many numbers of staff that are in these grants, or is it a dollar that's distributed? Because I think that one of the things I know I've asked a few times is to start getting some information on the usage of these grants, because even though it's a grant, it affects general dollars monies on how those are allocated. And we're really not in the loop on that.
And
For this document right here.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, go ahead.
So as you go across, for example, social workers, moving forward,
grant and general fund this year, next year it would be grant funded.
grant.
And
Restorative
if I-
practice, go ahead.
If I may, Mr. Malalepsy, Mrs. Wiley, and Mrs. Joseph, and Mrs. Flynn and I have been having conversations for the 26-27 grant planning. We're not fully through those conversations of estimated allocations, and who we're placing where as far as dollars, but we're trying to maximize those state and federal grants with applicable positions that could be coded there.
And that's why if you look at that document right there, you'll see the number of staff that were in the positions current year, the shifting, and so that is a balancing out of each of the buildings, along with then maximizing the grant usage. And so as Cassie was sharing, when they go through and do that, all that work is the best use of every single one of those dollars. And so you can see, okay, I have this many people that are school improvement coaches and or social workers, and so that is coming out of the grants.
Because when I look at the staffing, I look at the balance.
Yep.
On where we're heavy, where we're at academically, where
Yep.
we at for behavior stuff, where we at
Yep.
for other things, and there's a big heaviness in one area as compared to another, and that's why I asked that question.
Yep. I see what you're saying. There's gonna be more information on that coming, okay?
Okay, thank you.
'Cause I just saw something that I do have a question on. One of the other questions that popped up, staff cost reductions. So some of those are already being currently implemented, as David has shared, and I already talked about the Washtenaw Community College. So with that, I want to turn it over. We've captured everything on the board and just say, okay, what are the questions?
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Commit sub, 25 in the district.
So
I know that was a yellow item.
it
Yep.
is, yes.
That's, if I
Yep.
can take that one on
Yep.
behalf of the other team members. That is part of our grant discussion. We are discussing potentially partially grant funding some of the commit subs to accommodate professional development time for teachers during the school day. But that is one of the items that we haven't pinned down just yet.
So it's not a reduction of the, because obviously we still need
We,
in there, but can we figure out?
to your point, we are considering reducing that number. We just haven't pinned down the number yet.
And then, oh, sorry, my mic is off. The other question was regarding the restorative practice positions. With 12 in the district, you don't think we could do with just one at each school, or was that discussed?
Yep. So, David and Terry, I know you guys did
Can't you reduce that to 5?
a lot of work here.
Sure.
Oh, you
So Monroe High School is, I guess, reducing in folks that operate in that space from 3 to 2. They are also losing an administrator. A lot of the other buildings made those reductions last year when we were attempting to balance the budget. I think some of Terry's buildings may have made some adjustments this year. But those are the folks that I think if you asked our building administrators, those would be the folks who deal with and respond to low-level behaviors. They help mend relationships. They are really a critical component. And so when we talk about supporting our administrators and our teachers, when there's an incident in the classroom, typically those folks are the first people to respond. So I think we've made thoughtful reductions in that area. We have made reductions across the board. But I hear what you're saying. Terry, I don't know if you have anything.
Sure. Just to add a little bit to that. So when we looked at some different roles, and in particular, we looked at the deans, we looked at restorative practice coordinators and restorative practice analysts, and we saw a lot of overlap in what those people do. So, for example, if a dean is dealing with a discipline issue with a student, they're also doing the restorative pieces along with that. They're having those conversations with the student about how their decision impacted other people, helping them to learn from that. They are often a part of helping the student to re-enter into the classroom or issuing whatever consequence needs to be issued. So there was a lot of, restorative practice coordinators who were doing the same thing and restorative practice analysts. So with that, and the school success teacher as well, that's another role. So what we have is, for example, at Custer, they had a restorative practice coordinator who is retiring, and they decided to not replace that person, but they will have, instead of 2 deans, they'll have 2 restorative practice analysts. So still doing that same type of work where they're helping children to, teaching them how to behave appropriately if needed, and then if they do make bad decisions, helping them to learn from those decisions.
Terry, if you can take a minute right here, I think the board's going to need to hear the difference between a restorative practice coordinator and an analyst. And then also, if you could just dive into how the funding and what we did here to try and balance the position when it came to being that of a teacher, similar to the teacher's contract.
Sure. So restorative practice coordinators, that was a position we created maybe 7 or 8 years ago when restorative practices had first come out into the schools really heavily. And not a whole lot of people had a good understanding of what restorative practices were all about. So we had hired some different consultants who came in and taught staff about restorative practices. And then there was a group of people that we hired to be restorative practice coordinators who really specialized in that area. A lot of the work that they did back years ago was in the classroom teaching teachers about what restorative practices were and how to have restorative practice conversations with children, how to lead what we call circles with students. So they did a lot of the work that helps support staff with understanding that, that belief system around restorative practices. Restorative practice analysts, they work, I would say, a little bit more with students than they do with staff. They still do work with staff, but we do feel like our staff has a stronger understanding of restorative practices. And so shifting that focus to working with students individually or in small groups or, doing classroom lessons, whatever they need to do, like how Darren does that. I'm wondering if I explained the difference well enough or not. But we still will have restorative practice coordinators in the district. So Darren will still be at Raisinville. Patrick Finnegan will still be at Manor. Trying to think of who else. Ronnie Matika will still be at Monroe High School in that capacity. I know there's others, but I can't remember off the top of my head. And then funding-wise, they are grant funded. So they are a combination of 31A and some title funds.
Don't the academic tutors fall in that same category?
For grant funding, yes.
Yeah.
And the interventionists as well.
Okay.
Are we doing follow-up to the question?
Yes. Yep. I think with that, because that was the last, yes, I think we're done here.
This came directly from the video, so I'm trying to work through open discussion items. So we talk about ACAP as our security consultants. And I guess my question would be, if we eliminate ACAP, using ACAP, do we feel like we're compromising safety and security by doing that?
Yep. So one of the things that ACAP knew when we brought them in to consult with us was that they were going to, their job was to get us to a position where we could feel confident to step away, and that consistencies would be in place. Would I like another year? I would, but I would also say, though, that our buildings are doing things today that are just more advanced than we would thought about. So what we have is we have a standing monthly district level meeting, standing monthly meetings by building on school safety. And so that process will still continue from all the drills. And so that we won't miss a beat there. What has been really nice to have ACAP at the table is, and that's why I'm really hoping the 31AA money will come back around.
Sure.
Because I would like to keep them for the simple fact of the state of Michigan has changed their language, and so that's coming out now very soon. And so the implementation of a language change, but then also any of any kind of a finish up steps that we need to be thinking in terms of, but as far as all the little things, I think the mindsets in our buildings look a lot different today than they did before ACAP came in and started consulting with us.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's important to have somebody spearheading the effort, so
Yes,
if we
we
feel
fully
like,
agree.
if we feel like we can leverage the people at buildings, if we're making,
Yep. So two things I'm hoping, there's two opportunities. One is that 31AA money comes through.
Sure.
Great. If not, and we know that something may happen at the state level on the 31A, which is another allowable use of that money for school safety, we would use it there. So, like I've had to tell, in the conversation with others, is we are really now in a wait and see what the state will bring forward. And for like ACAP, they know that any kind of a decision for them won't happen until most likely the end of June or July. And it's really after the legislature's taken the vote.
Sure.
And the governor signed it.
Yep.
Then we'll know for exact.
When's the vote coming?
Hopefully before the end of June.
that's a long hope.
Heard what I was told.
I know.
Last year was October.
But my point is this way though, we can, and we've had those conversations with ACAP, so this is not something
Okay,
shocking.
good. So, and then we move to, ProMedica.
Yes, sir.
The $55,000 for a nurse and $75,000 for a therapist. So my first thought, is this a mental health authority option that we can leverage them? And I mean, I'd love to have a nurse there and I'd love to have a therapist there. But if there are community resources that we have, those might be two areas that we look at and say, I mean, that's some money. That's 130,000.
And so when ProMedica came in the door, and I'm gonna have to kind of lean this direction a little bit because you guys were here when ProMedica came in, the idea is that it's an offsetting cost, like we're picking up part of the tab, they're picking up part of the tab, ProMedica does. And so it's not just, for example, two people, I know that they have more FTEs in the clinic. And so it was more a way for us to keep kids in the building rather than going off for services. And so that's why that came about. But same moment in time, this is an area that is of a.
Understood. That's why I'm asking that. Do we have data on how many people took advantage of the clinic?
Yep. We'll bring it because ProMedica annually does provide that, so.
Good, because I think that would help us make a decision. I'm not trying to do anything rash. Like I said, I love the idea of a therapist being there and a nurse being there, but those are areas that maybe until times are better, then, I mean, the mental health authority is in a better position than they've ever been in, right? They've got they've got the emergency
Breakdown
room
use by
area.
Nurse versus therapist.
Behavioral health.
Yeah.
And then
Perfect.
I guess my thoughts on the guard check,
Yes, sir.
anything that pushes the perimeter out. So the elementary school building is a much different setup, but that gate pushes a perimeter that much further out, right? That's one interdiction point that much further out. You wouldn't have a gate system in front of Manor because the street's right there. There's nothing you can do there. But the high school gives us that buffer zone. So I'm a big fan of perimeters being further out, and I think we've seen that come to play here recently in a lot of situations. We're getting perimeters dangerously close to where the activity is at. So 45,000 is what you're saying that would be the guard check?
Yep.
I guess that for me, for the safety, for the safety, I would think. But if there's another way, if we can leverage technology,
The gate.
Oh, thank you.
we can leverage technology.
Right.
No, I got questions. You guys can talk about this stuff
No, it's
later.
about your gate. It's about your gate. Something
My
that-
gate? I don't have a gate.
Well, I would say that
That's the same for
that
me gate?
well, those folks that are at the gate, like I know we use the term security, and it's not a knock on them, but it is
Yeah.
essentially just a person. They're
Understood.
Yep.
Understood. But it's a person
That's a fair
moving the
point.
perimeter out.
Me either.
All right?
Yep.
So it's one more person I got to get through to get to the building.
We
That
can
doesn't
provide
mean that,
options.
we,
that is fair.
but if we can leverage technology, great.
Provide options.
And Mr. Shaw, we are looking at purchasing, or bringing a proposal that would allow that gate to be automated, but also to allow after-hour sport events Any kind of bus driver could come in and open the gate automatically, but they could intercom to the building from that gate. So we are looking at pricing to bring that proposal to the board.
Yep.
Okay. And then my thoughts on the middle school pool.
Yeah.
I think community ed's important, and I think swim safe's important. So for $8,000, I'd be all for continuing the pool.
No, it's not 8,000.
Oh, I thought we said 8,000 was.
That's just
That's
the
the
part
cost
to
of the
replace.
park.
Sure.
Yeah,
But
no, the annual
just-
cost, we haven't dove into it because it's gonna take
Right,
quite a bit of work to break down the chemicals.
Right, but what I'm saying is that wasn't on the table,
Nope.
getting rid of the middle school pool. The only thing on the table was the $8,000 if we're having a larger discussion about the pool and the savings that might create, that's a totally different conversation.
And but that is the conversation is around, do we keep the pool going or do we not? Nothing
So
with
can you get,
8,000.
then I would have to know a number of getting rid of the pool. We don't have that.
So that's
but that-
included in the budget?
That was one of the questions we had.
Okay.
Do you want us to take time and investigate because it's gonna take quite a bit? Or for somebody like, nope, leave the pool alone, and then we don't take any time to investigate it. That's my.
So if I,
Can we use the pool with $8,000 for the
Yes.
chlorination system? Well, then I think that would solve the problem for me, at least 1 year going forward with community ed and
was-
swim. But once again, how many people take advantage of it with community ed and swim safe?
I think it was
So
two
users.
separate things.
Okay.
Yes.
The repair is one thing. I think we're just bringing that up if for some reason you want us to further research the costs to keep maintaining the pool.
it was just something that had come up in our conversation, and we didn't want to invest a lot of time if the board felt strongly one way or the other.
Exactly.
This year, Tom, I heard your question from the side. The swim safe, we've had participation from all the third graders. Manor is the last building, I believe, in there, starting in next week-ish.
That's a
And
decent amount of people,
yes.
bodies.
And I can get those numbers from Aaron of which students participated and did not. And I know our aquafit and water aerobics classes are typically full.
And that's community ed.
Yes.
So you've got community members
Mm-hmm.
in there. What kind of staffing are we paying for while they're using the pool?
So there is typically one teacher. If we can get a student to be an additional person as a lifeguard, we do. We can't always find someone, but we do when we can have that extra person to keep an eye on in case there were to be something to happen.
During school day?
The aquafit and I always forget this. No. The aquafit and water aerobics are in the evening. The swim safe has a different staffing model. There is, Mrs. Doan is there, and then typically another adult teaching the students. And then there, depending on the number of students in there, there's at least another couple of student lifeguards that do get excused for that period of time during their school day.
Is it more expensive to use the high school pool than it is the middle school?
We did attempt using in the fall the high school pool. There was some logistics concerns with the way the locker rooms are set up there. There was some high school age students in the locker room at a point in time at the same time as the littles.
Third graders.
So there was, logistics wise, the middle school pool works just a little bit better is what we found.
Okay.
Are there additional insurance costs for, let's say we decommission the pool, would that reduce our insurance costs?
I could certainly make that inquiry. I think it's all blanketed in our liability insurance, but it could be something where there is like a line item that reduces the premium by X amount, which I could certainly
Yeah. 'Cause I just know
inquire.
if you have a pool at your house, your
Right.
insurance goes way up.
Correct.
We receive any funds for these programs?
For Swim Safe, we do have a grant that does offset a little bit of the cost, which pays typically for part of the lifeguards and the swimsuits and booklets that we provide to the students.
That sounds like a valuable program, so.
And we've had a lot of positive feedback this year. And it's, the Mrs. Doan and Mrs. Slosher that teach the classes really have a passion for swimming, and they really enjoy those. And the kids seem to enjoy the class at all, learning about water safety and swimming, and I think it's an important offering.
So if David's telling me $8,000 gets the pool okay into next year for these programs, then I guess I'm saying that seems low to me. I'm okay with it. But if we're saying we have to have a much broader discussion than that $8,000, then
The repairs are just to maintain the pool. These would happen. We were just bringing that up. It kind of happened at the
Okay.
same time as that
Okay.
possibility. So to me, if I would want to research the other costs.
Okay.
And then do those repair costs make it one way or the other? We would be charged the sinking fund and they would be charged to keep the pool up to the levels they need to be.
okay.
The general fund.
But, so if it's sinking fund, that's even better.
Yeah.
Right, so I guess I'm okay with them researching the repairs, and it sounds like we can do this fairly easily, and it sounds like this is the community uses it, and the third graders, it's great for them to learn. So, for me, that's an easy decision, but I think that's it for me.
I'd be interested to know what the annual expenses were in the past for the pool. Maybe it doesn't need to be a deep dive, but
We'll-
just look at that.
we'll bring
I'd
information
also
for you.
be, Interested in knowing what that savings would be for the Sunday weekend
Yeah.
activities.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one. Seems like that's an easy one.
I apologize, but I do need to get
Yeah.
to
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you,
get
Carrie.
on Zoom and get to the concert.
Thanks, Carrie. Bye.
Yeah. Okay, Gary, do you have any questions?
No, actually, Mary and Brian got my questions. I have one I'm just a little curious about, because we keep hearing about the 31A money, double A money again. How much of our general fund are we using in lieu of the money we didn't get from the state?
Our approximate allocation was $700,000.
So we're using 700,000 out of our general fund.
We moved a lot of those positions, because quite a bit of it was positions. We did move those into 31A where we could. We could not offset all of it. So not all of that 700,000 is coming from straight general fund. Some of it is coming out of 31A, which reduced what we could do with that additional allocation.
So it's possible, I mean, Lansing's Lansing.
It's up to the state.
Dysfunctional as they are, it's possible that we could get that money back.
We won't get the money back this current year,
But next,
but
We
for
could-
next year, I know there is conversations up there, and that's why we look at it that when it comes to school safety money, that we have two funding mechanisms, or three. Obviously, you have general fund, 31AA or 31A. And so for where we're sitting right now is we've tried to make sure that, did everything in our power to protect the general fund. And so now it's down to which pot monies come in from. And that's will allow then, if it's 31A does get opened back up to us, great. If not, 31A money increases, great. And if neither one does, then the decision's been made at this time, would stand and then figure out. I guess the other one is, so we've had 2.5 FTEs for school resource officers. And so, unfortunately, in the school resource officer world, I don't know if you want to be a part of Monroe Public Schools because it feels like the turnover rate just escalated in that arena. I feel there, but so for at Cantrick, I've already talked to Chad Tulsa about this. Is that we had a halftime person there, and going forward, right now we're going to stay with just one full time from the city, one full time from the county, and then should the 31AA money come through, then we could look at adding back a halftime. But until that happens, it's just that resource officer, be like all the rest, it'll just be busy going back and forth between buildings.
Yeah, because wasn't that added for the middle school and the 5-6?
We put the halftime person in this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was, the need was there, so we're just thinking. that-
Well, it was there, and it's a matter of getting used to a 630, 40 kids at Cantrick, and so that was the other rationale for it too. And
It did make sense.
Yep.
Just so you know, based on stuff that, I thought it made sense.
Yeah, I
I'm
agree.
not sure that that is something that is a wise cut, but
Yeah.
Particularly at the middle school where so
Yeah.
many
Middle-
discipline issues.
The
Yeah.
person is housed at, the full-time person is housed at the middle school.
Yeah, Corporal Reum is stationed at the middle school unless,
opinion in there.
And-
He has
and
not
let-
decided to leave us yet.
yeah, he's pretty vested in Monroe, I think, so. And I apologize, Mrs. Tarasi asked me a clarifying question on the adult community education programs. I failed to mention that we do collect a registration fee for those programs, which tends to break even with our cost to operate them. But
That's through the Learning Bank.
that is the community education program. At the middle school pool, those aqua programs, we
okay.
do
Sorry,
collect
I
a
moved
fee.
on, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, Thank you.
I just wanted to, I did answer her, but I
We
wanted
break
to
even on
bring
that
it to the whole.
cost-wise. That's good.
One more?
One more
One
over
more.
here.
You were done.
We talked about having Washington, Eastern Michigan get involved with our kids. Have we looked at any other schools and what they could offer us?
They have, I know they've had conversations, with Schoolcraft. and-
Wayne State?
And no, Wayne Community. I
Thank you.
believe. There's Wayne Community. And what they found is that Washtenaw, due to location, and Washtenaw due to just their delivery, mainly it's the textbook. I mean, that's the one that they figured out how to keep the cost really, really low. And so that's,
Transfer almost everywhere.
yep. And so,
Which is good.
and so that's, so Washtenaw is a player there. And like I said, at the end of the day, Monroe Community College is our community college, right here in our community. And so it's providing options, opportunities. And there are some things that the community college will continue to grow in, and when they get the book part figured out, and along with the credit costs for a lab, then it becomes really a wash for us. We'll still use Washtenaw Community College because there's still gonna be courses that work out really well. Now, understand, like, all of our business, all of our nursing, that's not leaving at all. That has to stay put right there because the pathways and everything is already pre-established. The welding program is pre-established, because you can't start it, it's already set up, the best way I can describe it, so. there
These
still
are
some-
choices. These are just options for students, not
So for some of the direct college courses, kids that are going into our early middle college program would be offered by Washtenaw Community College next fall.
instead of Monroe Community.
But that's only for, we're talking like in our second and third, like our sophomores and our juniors, because current kids that are further advanced will stay put with Monroe Community College. Because as you get older and more advanced, a lot of your courses aren't direct in college, are not direct college. They would be more virtual.
Okay.
Mary, I skipped you, but
Oh, that's okay. Most of my questions were already previously asked. I do have a question about security at Monroe High School, because at evening events, maybe my memory is glitching right now, but is there often somebody in the guard shack and somebody that's also in like the generalized entryway?
Nope, after 2:30 in the afternoon, it's only in the commons.
Okay. And then I really like the idea of the refurbished devices getting a second life. I think that's a really valuable way to kind of use those devices to the end of their life, but then also look at ways to effectively use maybe not the most perfect devices for parts and all of those things. So thank you for thinking of that creative solution. That's all.
Stacy?
I think everything's been asked and covered, and
Okay,
I got a couple follow-up based on the
Yeah.
question.
go ahead.
One thing is childcare, the costs that we spend for childcare. Have we looked at that?
You're looking at the child caregiver and the child care, is it the,
Yeah, that's the only two I see unless.
Yep,
there's
okay.
more.
Cassie, I know that's one that you.
I don't have the numbers on the top of my head, but I can certainly
Says there's
pull.
8.
Right. And our staffing has to be in alignment with the state requirements as far as for their childcare license. But I can pull data for you as far as what we've brought in for Riverside Kids Club and what we've paid out.
Okay.
I don't have that
I'm
right
just
in
looking
front
at
of
the
me.
value that an additional service like that provides, because it is a cost to the system. If we're cutting $5 for supplies, you know what I mean? That, in fact, I'm just thinking of all the numbers.
I think in our community, it is a service that's very much needed. And actually, we've discussed perhaps having Kids Club open during breaks or when school is closed, and changing what their calendar has looked like. We have not finalized, that's not been anything that we finalized. And typically, Mrs. Kipp, around this time of year, inquires as far as any potential wage changes for any staff so that she can adjust the tuition rates accordingly.
So it sounds like you're anticipating that that program's going to grow instead of shrink, and how would we maintain that?
We typically max out on our allowable slots for before and after school care and for the preschool program that's operated during the day. And during the summer, she definitely maxes out with our licensure.
So we're not looking at growing the program, just maintaining what we have.
We're looking at expanding the dates that we have the program open, but we're limited with our license as far as how many children we can accommodate at
Would
any
that-
given time.
Would that need more staff, is my question.
That would permit the staff to work over the break where they would not receive any wages. So it would give it,
Can't see
would-
pull together though is the offset of what revenue's coming in through that program, and then how much the district actually has to offset it.
Okay. The other one was a clinic. I know the operation of the clinics, and there's like a whole different category there on how that clinic runs, who maintains that. And I don't know that we have any, I remember when it came in, I don't remember if there were additional like cost, because there was a lease contract, there was,
so initially, I'm sorry, I don't
no,
mean to
go
cut
ahead,
you
you
off.
know what I'm asking.
So initially, when the ProMedica brought in the telehealth unit, we did have a cost share for the, I don't even know what they're called. They're like a little video
Yeah.
screen where they can see Dr. Shank and he can see the patient. Yes. So there was a cost share where the district did pay some of that. And each contract period with ProMedica, the percentage that we pay and the percentage that they pay varies based on the discussion at that time. The current contract, we pay 80% of the cost, and ProMedica pays 20% of those costs for the nurse and therapist at Monroe High.
I would just say, based on the fact that you're looking at the ProMedica costs for those other positions, it might be beneficial to look to see the cost of, it was a big deal adding that clinic in there and the benefits it provides out of it.
And at that time, there was
Yeah, I just adding that on.
and there was a grant that helped pay for those telehealth devices in the initial purchase.
Okay.
Do you need the nurse there for the telehealth or not?
I believe they do need a staff member present with the student. Yeah, we can't
Nobody
have
has
a,
to be a nurse, though. I think when they went through that data, because I remember asking that, why wouldn't a medical professional need to be with them? And they said, because the medical professional's on the screen, they just
Right.
need someone to help them run the screen.
yeah, and it
So I remember that
depends,
conversation.
and it depends on what they need the in-person person to do, I think, as well. It could very well be able to be a medical assistant, but I think it depends on what services they're providing.
Maybe include that totality in that. The other thing we were talking about, and this is to Carrie's question, when we were looking at the amount of staff in whatever restorative or behavioral, whatever they were. So we're looking at that, and then I was like, I'm always looking at, we're in academic instruction, like we should have a high amount of academic supports and whatnot. And I see we have, I see 24 academic tutors and stuff. So, I'm looking at the balance between the two if we're.
And so that's, when you were posing that question, that's going to be added, because that was when you were discussing, I'm like, oh my gosh, right there. So we need to add that to,
So would it help if they were separated between
get on this
interventionists
I think we
and?
have to be mindful. We're in academic instruction. We're here to ensure that our students are getting all the academic supports. We are very well aware of what our data sets are saying, how we have so many students that are more than 1 year behind. I mean, we've got a large majority of our students are in the lagging categories. So, you know, when you look at stuff like that, you would think you would add more into helping with academic instruction, and I just don't see, I see it added the other ways, but I don't see it added that way.
And the interventionist / academic tutor role is part of our ongoing grant discussion, and because those are paid with 31A and some title funds. So that's part of our ongoing discussion that hasn't been finalized. That's why that's still yellow. It's ongoing.
Okay.
Are you asking for like how many interventionists, how many tutors, or do you need it split by building?
It needs to be added to this document right here.
Yeah, what I'm
I
looking
can't
at.
yet because we haven't finished
Right.
Yeah.
the conversation, but I just didn't know if it'd be helpful to know how many are at each building or,
We're in academic instruction, so you would think that our academic instruction staff would be a significant amount of our staffing structure, including those supports that support that. And so I was just looking for that balance and where that exists, and
Are you suggesting
just
we have
trying to-
more, are you suggesting we have more tutors? I'm trying to follow your thinking.
I think more academic instruction, because when I was listening to Carrie's conversation and I was listening to the responses, it was talking about all the supports to help with behaviors and teach them how to do and act. And I'm not saying that there isn't a value there, but what I'm saying is we're an academic instruction, institution. So where are those built-in academic supports to move that needle in a more academically structured fashion?
so I just want to clarify what your ask is as far as information wise from us is. Are you wanting to, because those are two different roles. The
Right.
interventionist is a certified teacher or someone that can qualify as a substitute teacher. An academic tutor is a person that is not a certified teacher, but provides some additional assistance to students. So I just want to make sure that we're giving you what you're asking for, and I'm confused about what it is that you need.
I'm looking at the amount of supports that are for academics instruction, and what are the supports for the behavior instruction based on Terry's response on that. I understand that there are certain positions, because I saw them in play, where there are certain positions that can do both. And, but I know there's some positions that don't as well. So I'm just looking at, again, for an academic instruction, where we've given those supports, the balance between them.
We've got a pretty good idea what
He
you're looking
goes,
for.
he's
So
got it.
we got it.
As long as,
He's got
So
it.
I've got it.
in that same vein, if we're going to really focus in on how much we're spending on academics, can we also pull in how much we're spending on athletics then?
I think that's on here, isn't it?
But like how much we spend on coaches, how much we spend on like all of those staff too, to kind of draw that comparison?
Yeah, it says on the one chart, there was 130 coaches. I just saw it on the chart.
That, and I would also like to just put out there for consideration that the behavior techs are doing work that directly impacts instruction. Because the work that, those behaviors that are cropping up in classrooms that often interfere with other students' learning, the behavior techs are intervening, so it often prevents those behaviors from taking away instructional time. So it allows the teacher to teach the class. It also allows the other students and learners to continue learning. So those two things are more directly connected, I would say, than some other things that are in our school budget.
We haven't heard from you. No. No, I think Mary brings up a good point. I know certainly from when I went to school here, the number of athletic opportunities has expanded greatly. And obviously that means more coaches, more costs, not just coaches, but obviously there's equipment, there's transportation. So maybe we need to look at, I know it's never a pleasant discussion of, reducing the number of athletic, opportunities of teams and what we're involved in from an athletic perspective.
So one of the things we'll bring forward is the number of students that do take part in athletics.
Yeah.
And a personal goal I always have is that we should always want our students to be involved in something after school. It doesn't matter what it is, but active after school increases the student.
Yeah.
And so what are all the after-school activities that we have and opportunities for kids? So,
Yeah, I mean, we can look at
Yep.
by sport, where's,
Where's the
Engagement.
engagement? Where's the
Yeah.
participation?
yeah.
The
And-
ratio of coaches
Yeah.
to students on the team?
Yeah,
But you could, based on what you just said, Andy, you could include in all extracurricular activities in that category
Yeah.
as well? Okay. Might as well look at it all.
yeah. Then the other thing, Andy, we've had some discussions, this would be I think we had good success selling the VAR field.
Yes.
Obviously, a one-time shot into the general fund balance would be to sell the property over here adjacent to the ad building as well as the old Christensen location. And I know we have some expense of people keeping it mowed, but obviously it'd be
Yes,
the
we
sale
do.
that would give us a shot in the arm.
yes, I appreciate that. We'll get a move on that one right there.
And I think everything else people have obviously covered.
Thank you. So much like last week, we're going to work through these questions and the remaining items. And then next Monday night, go deeper for you. There are a couple of notes I have here that I just want to bring to your attention. The one that's going to take us a hot minute to really finish up is the support staff. That's not one that will be done by next Monday, because support staff, we're talking about people that students may have a one-on-one aid, we call them independent facilitators, to also the model for covering of our recesses, lunches, all of that stuff. So we need to that'll take time for us to do, but know that that is an area that will be a part of the overall arching budget if there's any staff. Now, understand that's a staff too that is very fluid for us too. It's not like that's there. So this week, more to come. This Friday, we'll bring you as much information back forward. Next Monday night, we'll come back in here and hopefully have all your questions answered.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to actually, can I flip this? Because usually we have public commentary before we have board member commentary. So I'm going to go to public commentary. Do we have any public commentary?
I'm aware of Mr. Heck.
Then we will go to board member commentary. Let's start with Stacy.
I would like to see the data on the ProMedica, the nurse and the therapist. I know that we do have nurses on staff as well, so that is important to me to see those numbers.
I've got nothing.
Okay, Mary?
Tom, I think you brought up a good point, and Andy, I think you also added to that point of looking at all of our extracurriculars and really kind of digging into the data of like engagement, year over year engagement, the number of students per instructor. I think that's really important to kind of dig into when we have to like really look into making difficult decisions like this. And then also, Darla, I think you brought up a really good point too. We are an academic institution. We are an academic organization, and really focusing in on how the goal of this board is to support academic success of students. I think that's a really important point that you brought up tonight.
Brian? Good. Darla?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I just wanted it on there in case anybody else wanted to make comments.
Yeah, I think I'd like to add on to Mary's just last comments. I think what we saw with the M steps and some of the assessments, I think we've got the ship kind of righted and heading in the right direction. We need to keep that momentum going with the academics and keep everything focused on that. Other than that, I guess I would remind again, some thoughts may come to your minds through the next couple of days. If you have more questions, get them to Andy as soon as possible so the team can work on that. I do want to thank, I know the team's put in a lot of hours on this, and I'm sure there's going to be more to come, but I appreciate everybody on Andy's team that's putting in the effort and really looking at everything to make sure that we can get this budget in the right condition for next year.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Do I have support?
Support.
Everybody's going to push our button. real
Nobody
fast.
wants to support, that's fine.
Support.
Show of hands. Very good. That concludes our agenda. Let me just say, our next regular Board of Education meeting will be held on Tuesday, May 12th, 2026, and will begin at 7 PM with a regular work session prior to the board meeting beginning at 5:30. Additionally, we will have a board policy meeting at 8 AM Monday, May 11th, along with a special work session beginning at 5:30 on May 11th. The Monroe Public Schools Board of Education Special Board Meeting for Monday, May 4th, 2026 is adjourned, and the time is 7:21 PM.